Okay, so Marvel's Phase 4 has come to an end, and we finally got a movie that, for the most part, from beginning to end, takes itself serious. For the most part. So yes, Black Panther: Wakanda Forever is out, and sorry about my voice. I don't know what's going on with my voice, but Black Panther: Wakanda Forever is out, and yeah, this is one of Marvel's most beautiful films. I genuinely enjoyed it from start to finish. Even Spider-Man No Way Home, I think the first 20 minutes of it weren't that good, and they were throwing in too much comedy. I, for one, am not a huge fan of Marvel's comedy. I don't find their humor to be all that funny. So with this movie, I kind of knew they were going to take it a bit more serious. They, obviously the loss of Chadwick Boseman really had an effect on this movie. It had an effect on the rest of the actors, it had an effect on the director, and it had an effect on the way this movie was going to be played out. So they really had to completely change the script and change the movie itself, because they just lost not only their friend, but their main character. So with all of that, I think they managed to pull together and create a great film, a great Marvel movie. So let's start with the positives. First things first, I gotta say, all the actors brought their A game. Even the ones that had very minor roles and not that much screen time, I think they killed it. Everybody here knew exactly how important this movie was, so they brought their A game. Every character here was impacted by the loss of not just T'Challa, but Chadwick Boseman in general. So when the actors were acting, there was part of you that when you were watching them act out these emotional scenes, you can believe that it wasn't too hard for them to get those tears out. Okay, they're not just crying about the character they lost, they're crying about the friend they lost. But besides those amazing characters that returned from the first one, we get, for the most part, some good addition of new characters. Namor is a badass. Ryan Coogler, I think he does such a good job at creating characters that aren't necessarily villains, but they're just antagonists for the protagonist. So you can't really say that they're bad guys. They're just against what the good guys are doing in this movie and in the previous movie with Killmonger. But Namor, I love that they treat him like an actual god. There's so many times, like Thor, when we get a character, they're called gods, they're very powerful, but then they're turned into jokes and they're constantly getting their ass whooped. Namor, I'm gonna call him Namor. Namor, throughout the movie, his presence is shown and he is a threat to the Wakandans. That man is there to fuck people up. And I thought it was a little funny from the trailer, the feathers that he had on his feet, the little wings. But they made some jokes about that throughout the movie as well. But seeing it on the movie and everything he does while he's flying, I gotta say Namor is a badass, and I really want to see more of him. He killed it. Every scene he was in, I was intrigued. The one thing I gotta say is his origin story, I think it went by a little too quickly, and it didn't really give me enough time to feel the emotion that I was supposed to feel with his origin story. So I wish they spent a little more time on that. Now, the other character is Ironheart, and she did a fine job acting wise. Like, she did a good job, but she was really just there to push the other characters. She was literally just there as a plot device. And all the other characters, yeah, they were just there for her, but her herself, she didn't really do much to the story. It was just her presence and something she did back then before this movie started within the MCU that made her important. Other than that, she was really just there to push her own TV show that she's about to get. And while I'll say this character is fine, I don't have anything against her, I'm also not really too intrigued it didn't really do anything for me to make me more intrigued to go watch her Disney Plus show. Now those are new characters. The old characters, Winston Duke, that guy is hilarious. Like I said, for the most part, the Marvel comedy isn't there, but when it is there, it's with M'Baku and Okoye. And wow, I actually really like their comedy. M'Baku kills it. He says the calmest things, his facial expressions, he is hilarious. And Okoye, she has this sarcastic, cocky, but yet confident attitude that I find very interesting. And she also had probably the best action scene. This action scene that almost came out of nowhere. I didn't think I was going to get it, and it was so cool. And it was like on this bridge, and it was just her and one other person. There was a group of other people, but they left. And the action scene she got between her and one of Namor's, what is it, the Talocons. One of them. It was awesome. It was badass, and I hope we get more action scenes like that. Now, the biggest character here is going to be Shuri. She is pretty much the protagonist, and I didn't like that idea at first. When I first saw Black Panther, of course, they were not expecting the death of T'Challa, or the death of Chadwick Boseman. Sorry, my voice is just, I don't know what's wrong with it. But yeah, they were not expecting his death. So, I don't believe for 1 minute that they were planning to make her the Black Panther anytime soon. They were planning a whole trilogy, a bunch of Avengers films with Chadwick Boseman. And yeah, I'm sure that maybe one day they were planning to make Shuri the Black Panther. But based on the first movie and all the Avengers movies we got, there was no way anybody can say that she should have been the Black Panther by the next movie. But of course, with the death of Chadwick Boseman, they really had no other choice. And while I really did not like her character, she was the main problem with the MCU humor in the first movie. But with this movie, I really kind of knew, even before I was going into it, that she was going to be a completely different character. That Ryan Coogler was going to make her a completely different character. And I was right. She barely makes any jokes. And when she does make jokes, they still kind of land flat for me. But for the most part, they know to treat her well. And they know that she has kind of become the protagonist. And she has to be a whole different character. And I'm going to get into some spoilers. So just letting you know. But I think it's pretty obvious. I even guessed it in the trailer. I think everybody guessed it. She becomes a new Black Panther. That's what it is to it. But I think they did a really good job at making her earn it, really. I think that's the best thing about it, is that they made her earn it. And by the time that she becomes Black Panther, by the time she gets the suit, you really believe that she's deserved it. And you really believe that she deserves to be called the next Black Panther. Another thing I love about this movie is the score. Marvel, for the most part, every once in a while they get a really good score for some movies, but I always like the score for the first Black Panther movie. But I think this one really just topped it. I think the score for the first Black Panther movie was awesome, but this score takes that score and makes it 10 times better. Going into spoilers, the moment she becomes the Black Panther, the music and the score that they play for that scene is so fucking loud, so big, and so badass that I love it. It really just makes you feel like she's earned it. It really feels like a superhero moment, and I love seeing that. The action, for the most part, is awesome. I really enjoyed the final battle that she had with Namor. I just wish it wouldn't constantly cut back between that and the, you know, the big fight between the two armies. I understand they do that. I mean, they even did that with Avengers Infinity War, but the thing with Avengers Infinity War is they spent like at least 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there, 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there. In this movie, it was more like they spent 10 seconds here, 10 seconds there, 10 seconds here, 10 seconds there. Like, I wasn't getting enough time to really enjoy the fights at the end. While those 10 seconds were badass, they quickly cut to the other fight, and then I only got 10 seconds of that, and then they quickly cut to the other fight, and it was kind of just a little too much for me, to where I couldn't really enjoy one of them. Any negative source of movie, I would say some of the comedy, like I said, not that much comedy, and most of the comedy landed, but there's still some that were in there that were sprinkled that was just MCU humor that is just not for me. But again, there's barely any of it, and most of it was at the beginning of the movie. And yeah, the rest of the comedy done very well. Another negative is I think that little side story with that character, I forgot her name. That character that showed up in Black Widow and that other TV show, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and Everett Ross. I like Everett Ross. Martin Freeman, I think he's a good character. And it wasn't bad, but I didn't really need it. It was really just to push forward more stories. That's really all it was there for. So honestly, if you took that away, it wouldn't make a difference. It'd still be the same damn movie. But yeah, this movie it's beautiful. Not only did they manage to pretty much create a whole new story, but pay tribute to Chadwick Boseman and continue off his legacy in such a beautiful way, while at the same time just focusing on making a good movie with very minor MC humor and a little side plot that was just really there to, continue on the MCU. If you took away those two things, this movie would be damn near perfect. The action was great, while I wish they focused more on one action scene at a time. The CGI is much better. Oh my god. The CGI in the first Black Panther movie was terrible. A lot of people have criticized it already. It sucked. It was horrible. The CGI, much better. It's still not perfect, but it's much better. The score, amazing. The characters, the actors, phenomenal. Angela Bassett, how did I forget about her? She has multiple scenes where she is just killing it. Her acting, she is just fucking killing it. I think acting-wise, she does the best. Best performances, best scenes, and that's something because all these other actors are also just bringing in their A-game. But besides that, this movie, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful send-off. It's a great way to end Marvel Phase 4 because Marvel Phase 4 has been very rocky, probably the weakest phase of all time. I mean, we got Spider-Man No Way Home, which I love mostly for nostalgia's sake. I think the last half is so much better than the first half. Those first 20 minutes are really kind of hard to sit through, honestly. Thor Love and Thunder, wow, what a mess. Eternals was good, but it had a lot of flaws. Black Widow, pretty much forgettable. Shang-Chi, I think, had the same problem as the original Black Panther, which I liked the first 2 acts, but I think the finale was just so much CGI, such a big Marvel mess. Doctor Strange, while I love everything that Sam Raimi did, there was also stuff that MCU did, and that was crap. So yeah, this movie might be the only Phase 4 movie that's solid from start to finish. I know I love Spider-Man No Way Home, but those first 20 minutes did suck. So I can't say it was perfect from start to finish. This movie wasn't perfect, but it was very consistent from start to finish. I love the serious tone. Please make more Marvel movies like this. Try to just focus on one story at a time. I know you have to build this universe, but come on, just focus on one story at a time, please. And yeah, great characters, great story, beautiful send-off. I didn't cry, but there were times where I knew I was about to, but it didn't come. Yeah, I don't even have to tell you to go watch this movie. This movie is going to break records. I think we knew that going in. This movie is going to break a crap ton of records. This movie is going to make a lot of money. So, just hopefully you enjoyed it as much as I did. But thanks for watching.